Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
And this guy, Bill Cassidy, just lied right to my face. Do you believe that every American, regardless of income, should be able to get regular checkups, maternity care, etc., all of those things that people who have health care get and need?
Yep.
So yep is Washington for nope, I guess. And I never imagined I would get involved in something like this. This is not my area of expertise. My area of expertise is eating pizza, and that's really about it. But we can't let him do this to our children and our senior citizens and our veterans or to any of us. And by the way, before you post a nasty Facebook message saying I'm politicizing my son's health problems, I want you to know I am politicizing my son's health problems because I have to.
So Jimmy Fallon mussed up Donald Trump's hair, and Jimmy Kimmel kicked Bill Cassidy's ass. You see the difference. You see the difference between the Fallon and the Kimmel. Yeah. Oh, my God. He tore Bill Cassidy a new one last night, and that's hard to do because Bill Cassidy is one. So now he's like a black hole, I guess. Maybe those are the special lights that they're seeing over Pismo Beach. Maybe that's what Tamara's seeing in Joplin, Missouri. I actually believe yesterday when people were telling me about it's the Aurora Borealis is what I think it is. And it's spectacular. And why you would think it's the end times, I don't know. Except that we do have the Antichrist as a president. And there's hurricanes lined up like taxi cabs in the Atlantic Ocean. And Puerto Rico has no power. And in Mexico City, they're trying to get a little girl out from under rubble after a 7.1 earthquake and threatening that there will be aftershocks for months, if not years, to come. Oh, so... why would you think it's the end times? I'm not really sure. But okay, so this is what went on last night on Jimmy Kimmel's show. He actually is very emotional about this because, as you know, Jimmy Kimmel just had a baby. And his baby, although beautiful, was born with a heart defect, which is, something that new parents deal with when they have health insurance. And when they don't, what happens? What happens? I mean, you have to hope that the problem with your child is cancer, because then there's St. Jude's and you could go there without charge to your family. But other than that, I mean, what do people do when their babies are sick? I mean, Scotty's got a 9.5-month-old, and we were just talking about it before the show, and he said, his wife wants to have another baby, and he's like, not unless we get some sort of assurance about health insurance. It costs $20,000 to have a baby, and so people are not having children because they don't know what's going to happen with health insurance, because the crazy Republicans will not let their bad idea die, and their 7-year-old really rank idea is to kick 20 million people who got health insurance by virtue of expansion of Medicaid and Obamacare with subsidies and tax credits for small businesses off of health care. I mean, why is that a good idea? Obviously, people do not understand that you are only as good as the weakest among you. So, if parents have a baby and that baby needs surgery, the parents are going to have the surgery and then they're going to struggle to pay for it, or they're going to declare bankruptcy and not be able to pay for it, in which case we all chip in a little bit to pay for it. This is what I keep telling you, whether you like it or not. We are all in this together. Whether you like it or not. If people don't have health insurance, then they go to the emergency room, and that is the most expensive place to get health insurance, and we all chip in to pay for each and every person who shows up at an emergency room who doesn't have health insurance. Somewhere along the line, you're going to pay something for that person who got the most expensive way to get health care. it doesn't make any sense that you would want to kick 32 million people off of their health care, because you're going to have to pay for each and every one of them when they break a toe, when they fall off a ladder, when they are hurt in a hurricane, when they have a car accident, God forbid, and could be of no fault of your own. Some idiot could slam right in. I mean, it makes no sense. This is what I keep telling you, that you're only as good as the person who doesn't have, because somehow, some way along the line, the cost for them will be passed on to you. So if you're that selfish that that's the only reason that you would want to provide health insurance for people, then there you go. That's a reason. So Jimmy Kimmel obviously is able to afford his child's heart surgery. But he got on the TV last night and said, this is no way for other people to live.
And this is something I always had to emphasize to my...
Wait, no, sorry. That's Obama. Obama actually spoke out today. God, should I play? I'll just play it because I miss him. Oh, we all do. We all miss him so much. Listen to this.
And this is something I always had to emphasize to my staff when I was president. Better is good. No. You laugh, but sometimes people forget that. I will take better every time. So that's what's needed today. The engagement of everyone who wants to see a better future for our children. And it can be frustrating. I'll take an example here in the United States. Over the past 8 years, thousands upon thousands of Americans threw themselves into the collective effort of reforming our healthcare system. Those of you who live in countries that already have universal health care are trying to figure out what's the controversy here. I am too.
There's more. I'll play it. But it's I mean, what is the controversy? What is the contretemps? I don't understand what it is. Now, let me just tell you that, Jimmy Kimmel is absolutely right that Bill Cassidy lied to his face. He really did. Because Bill Cassidy kept saying that he would never, ever put his name on, co-sponsor, or vote for any bill that would take away health insurance from people, any bill that didn't cover everybody with pre-existing conditions. Okay, this is what he told Jimmy Kimmel, and this is what he told CNN.
I asked, does it pass the Jimmy Kimmel test? Would the child born with a congenital heart disease be able to get everything she or he would need in that first year of life? I wanted to pass the Jimmy Kimmel test.
Okay, so last week, Bill Cassidy and Senator Lindsey Graham proposed a new bill, the Graham-Cassidy bill, and this new bill actually does pass the Jimmy Kimmel test, but a different Jimmy Kimmel test. With this one, your child with a pre-existing condition will get the care he needs if and only if his father is Jimmy Kimmel. Otherwise, you might be screwed. Now, I don't know what happened to Bill Cassidy, but when he was on this publicity tour, he listed his demands for a health care bill very clearly. These were his words. He said he wants coverage for all, no discrimination based on pre-existing conditions, lower premiums for middle-class families, and no lifetime caps. And guess what? The new bill does none of those things. Coverage for all? No. In fact, it'll kick about 30 million Americans off insurance. Pre-existing conditions? No. If the bill passes, individual states can let insurance companies charge you more if you have a pre-existing condition. You'll find that little loophole later in the document after it says they can't. They can and they will. But will it lower premiums? Well, in fact, for lots of people, the bill will result in higher premiums. And as far as no lifetime caps go, the states can decide on that too, which means there will be lifetime caps in many states. So not only did Bill Cassidy fail the Jimmy Kimmel test, he failed the Bill Cassidy test. He failed his own test. And you don't see that happen very much. This bill he came up with is actually worse than the one that, thank God, Republicans like Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski and John McCain torpedoed over the summer. And I hope they have the courage and good sense to do that again with this one, because these other guys who claim they want Americans to have better health care, even though 8 years ago they didn't want anyone to have health care at all, they're trying to sneak this scam of a bill they cooked up in without an analysis from the Bipartisan Congressional Budget Office. They don't even want you to see it. They're having one hearing. Yep. The hearings, I read the hearings being held in the Homeland Security Committee, which has nothing to do with health care. And the chairman agreed to allow two witnesses, Bill Cassidy and Lindsey Graham, to speak.
I mean, this is all true, okay? I have news for you. The newspaper, PolitiFact and other fact checkers fact-checked Jimmy Kimmel and asked, does Jimmy Kimmel know what he's talking about? And the answer is yes, Jimmy Kimmel knows what he's talking about. Now, Bill Cassidy responded today via CNN to Jimmy Kimmel, and he doubled down on his lies.
Senator Bill Cassidy, what is your response, Senator?
I'm sorry, he does not understand. Under Graham, Cassidy, Heller, Johnson, more people will have coverage, and we protect those with pre-existing conditions. States like Maine, Virginia, Florida, Missouri, there'll be billions more dollars to provide health insurance coverage for those in those states who have been passed by Obamacare, and we protect those with pre-existing conditions.
Well, the counter-argument will be pre-existing conditions will be up to the pricing of the particular state and market. So it's not what it is now, where you can't allow insurance companies to cherry pick and punish people for pre-existing conditions. So the protection is not the same, Senator, on that one point.
The protection is absolutely the same. There's a specific provision that says that if a state applies for a waiver, it must ensure that those with pre-existing conditions have affordable and adequate coverage.
Okay, let's examine this right here. Okay, let's just examine this. First of all, he's lying. Okay, he's lying because what it says is that states that are seeking waivers only have to explain how they intend to maintain access to coverage for people with pre-existing conditions, but they don't have to prove that their waiver actually does this. So here are the things you need to know about this bill. This bill is worse than the skinny repeal. Okay, that's for sure. And that bill would throw 32 million people off of their health insurance because that bill cut I forget how many billions of dollars out of Medicaid. This one does the same thing. Okay, this is what it repeals. The subsidies that maybe you get on the exchange, I get a subsidy on the exchange. It repeals tax credits for people who need the tax credits because they have very high out-of-pocket costs. And it ends the tax credit for, wait for it, small businesses who provide health insurance for their employees. Even if, they're less than 50 employees, they don't have to. It also repeals the employer mandate. So companies with more than 50 people don't have to provide health insurance to their employees anymore with no penalty if they choose to pull the health insurance that was a benefit. That was factored into your salary. Trust me, I'm a small business owner. You do factor in everything from payroll tax to what benefits are costing, and then you offer a salary that, includes those things. Okay, states will now be in charge. So states can waive any rule that requires an insurance policy to cover the 10 essential benefits like maternity care, like prescription drug coverage, like, wellness, your colonoscopies, your cancer screenings, right? They can get rid of the 10 essential benefits, and they can waive the requirement that people with pre-existing conditions get the same crack at the same premium as people who are healthy, so that people with pre-existing conditions will pay more if they can find a policy in that state at all. Of course, Medicaid then gets a cap on all funding. Now, this isn't up to the states. This is the feds doing this. The feds are saying to the states, we're going to cap all the funding for Medicaid. It's going to be a finite amount that goes into the Medicaid trust fund. And those states that did not expand Medicaid will now get billions of dollars taken from the states that did expand Medicaid, and it will not take into consideration the population of said states. So a state that has 33 million people will get the same amount of funding as a state like Wyoming with 3 million people. And then it will be up to the governor to figure out what to do with that money and how to cover people or not. Maybe they'll just take the Medicaid money and they'll spend it on something else, because there is no requirement to spend it on health care. There will be some money and the same money for every single state, regardless of 3 million or 33 million. And all Medicaid funding ends in 2026. All of it. Planned Parenthood is not allowed to take Medicaid anymore. So if you have a cancer or a health screening at Planned Parenthood, you can't use your Medicaid card there. That's at least for a year. And there is no CBO score, and there will be one hearing next week. Go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.